A lot of people that want to get into real estate investing think that they have to put 20% down when purchasing their first investment property, which is not the case. There's a way around it if you want to finagle your way through the system. And here's what it is, and it's how I started. So if you are purchasing a home for yourself to live in, there are incentives for loan types for homeowners that are owner occupants. If you're buying an investment property, you are going to have to put 20% or more down, depending on the type of property, unless you have a relationship with a bank or maybe a shorter term loan or a loan with a balloon. Regardless, you're gonna have to have some skin in the game and put a large down payment down. The hardest obstacle when you want to get into real estate investing for most people is that down payment. So if you are willing to owner occupy a property first, you can get into a property and then later convert it into an investment property and save that big down payment, or save yourself from that big down payment that you maybe don't have saved up yet. So if you want to purchase a property, if you live where I live, there are what are called a rural development loan, which there's a lot of reasons why we have them: smaller population size, different things like that. Not everybody has them, but different communities have loan incentive programs to help people become homeowners if they're under a certain income level. And in my area, that income's pretty high. I think you can make like 90-something thousand dollars and still do these rural development loans. And you can move into a property, and those loans are actually no down payment loans. Now, you are not allowed to rent those properties out. So if you converted that to a rental property, you would have to refinance down the road. But if you lived in the property for a couple of years and you built some equity in and you had a little bit of equity built up, and then you wanted to go and purchase another property, you could refinance that home with a conventional loan once you've paid your mortgage for a couple years and paid your balance down, and keep that as a rental property and then go and buy your next property. You just can't keep it with that rural development loan. Now, those aren't available everywhere. So if you live in any other place, there are FHA loans, there are conventional loans, there's a whole bunch of different loan types, but those are probably going to be your most common ones. Now, everyone always thinks, especially in bigger cities, because I think we're really good at marketing those loan options in my area, the lenders really make sure consumers are aware those are available. But when I look nationally online, people talk about saving 20% for a home. Not the case. If you do an FHA home loan, you would have to owner occupy. Again, you would have to live in it, but you can buy a 1 to 4 unit property with an FHA loan, meaning you could buy a fourplex, you could buy a triplex, or you could buy a duplex or a single family home. But you could buy a 4, 3, or 2 unit. As long as you live in one of the units, you only have to put 3.5% down. 3.5%. That is so much less than this big scary 20% that we all think that we have to put down. So you could, with an FHA loan, go buy your property, and that's a big difference. Say you're buying a $100,000 house. I know those don't really exist that much in that many places anymore, but that's the difference of $20,000 down to $3,500 down. That's a much more attainable savings goal for sure for anybody than $20,000. And so obviously if it was a $200,000 house, it's $7,000 instead of $40,000. That's a big difference. So you could use an FHA loan. You could purchase the property, and again, your loan is going to have rules. So say you live in it for a couple of years, you build some value, and then you go and move on. Well, now you can keep that as a rental property as long as you've lived in it for the amount of years they say you have to be able to then rent it out. Just check with your lender and your loan terms. Conventional loan's the most traditional one that we hear about all the time, and everyone thinks, oh, well, if you go conventional, you have to put 20% down. Not the case. If you are going to owner occupy, you can put as little as 5% down with a conventional loan. And some banks have programs that if you're a first-time home buyer, sometimes they have requirements like you have to take the first-time home buyers course. And I want to tell you, first-time home buyer doesn't always mean it's the first home you've ever bought. I see a lot of people use these first-time home buyer programs that haven't purchased a home within a certain amount of time. They are all going to have different requirements, but there was one that was available here for a long time through a big box bank, and you could go as low as 3% down as long as you were going to owner occupy the home and you took the first time home buyers course, and it was just like an online course that they offered. And so again, you might think 20% down. Well, no, it's a conventional loan with 3% down. That 3% down program was with that special program through that bank for that conventional loan, but you can go with almost anyone that offers a conventional loan. You can go as low as 5% down and still do a conventional home loan. So there's lots of options available to people that want to get into home ownership. Just do some research and ask around and go consult with the lenders in your area, because it doesn't always have to be that big scary 20% down. And even if you're not ready, if you find a trusted lender who will explain it to you, you know exactly what your savings goal is that you want to be working towards. So if you start with any of these, you get into the house, you start making the payments, you live in it instead of living in a rental and paying somebody else's mortgage for them. You live in it, you're building value and equity as you pay your mortgage every month. Well, then when you're ready to move on, then you convert that first home into a rental property, and then you go and buy your next property, and then you have your first rental, and you can just keep doing it if you want to. So that's how you buy your first rental property without 20% down. You just have to live in it first. Still, most conventional bank or